Hi, this is Anne with Fiber Designs by Anne, and I'm making a project using the fabrics that I made from the Textile Color series of painted fabrics. And this project could be made using other fabrics that you've painted or colored, or you could even use purchased fabric. Here's a couple examples of what I'm going to do. This one is a card. And you can see these are the fabrics back here, and this is another card. I'll talk more about those at the end. You're going to need a piece of fabric that you've decided to use, a hot dry iron. I'm using a little iron because I got heat and bond on my other iron. You'll be needing some kind of card or something you want to do this project on. I just have a piece of cardstock, but I use this to slip in packages and write a little thank you on, so I'll make that today. You'll need some Wonder Under, which is the adhesive on one side. I'm using some parchment paper, so I won't hopefully ruin my iron. I have some freezer paper, and I'll show you what that's for. And I have a piece of white paper just to use as a surface. You could use a light box for that step, but I'm going to just use the paper instead of getting my light box out. I have a glue stick, and this is purple so that I can see the color and know when it's dry and where it's going, or close to where it's going. I have a marker, and you want a marker that's not really juicy. At least I find that to be better. So I have a fine tip black permanent marker. I have a pair of scissors, some water, and a cotton swab. And I'm going to be using Mulberry rice paper. It's a beautiful, delicate, translucent paper. I have this for sale. I have a limited supply for sale in my shop, Fiber Designs by Anne, and it's under the category, it's called Project Bits and Pieces. This is the only thing I have in there right now, but I'll be getting other things, putting other things in there. Anyway, we're going to use that for this project. It's sturdy, but it's very delicate, if that makes any sense. If it gets wet, that's where it's delicate. It tears really easily. If you get other adhesives on it, or water, markers, paint, anything that makes it moist can cause it to tear. So just be aware of that. I'm going to show you I just tear mine out by hand, but I'm going to show you something you can do to make it a little bit cleaner tear and a little easier and get it where you want it without wasting a lot of the paper. I also am going to use one of my pictures. This sheet is a work in progress. I haven't finished it. I'm going to add a lot more. But I like to make several of them at one time. I'll show you what I'm talking about of them. And sorry about the reflection. And just have them on hand to make a really quick little card. So the first thing we're going to do is decide on our fabric. And I'm going to use this today because I really like this fabric. And you could cut this with a rotary cutter that has a decorative edge. You could use any kind of scissors, or you can do what I'm doing, which is to just tear it, because I like the way that looks. And I know that I'm going to set it on here because I've made several of these, and so I know about what size I want. You can measure, you can lay it on your card or whatever you're going to cover to figure out what size you want. You can also cut an opening, make a window out of cardstock or just paper even, and take it around I should have brought one, I have a lot of them, take it around your fabric to see an area. You can even just take paper and do that. See an area that, whoops, it helps if you can see what I'm doing, an area that you like. Of course, if you're tearing, it needs to be on the grain. That helps you decide which area on the fabric you might want to use. So once I have that fabric the way I want it, I'm going to fray this out a little bit more because I think it looks cool. But you can do it any way you want. And I think that might be a little long. Yeah, I like them a little shorter, so I'm going to make a cut. Probably not enough of a cut. Give it a tear. And you could cut the frays off or just let them be wonky. I like that better. So now, let me scoot that aside for just a second. I'm going to take my Wonder Under, and you can lay it on here, and you want it set back, just leaving the edge so it's not showing. And you can take a pencil and draw a line. I just usually crease it because it's just easier for me that way. And just give it a cut. Now I'm on the back of the fabric, although I really like the back of this fabric almost as much as the front. I'll see if this is, that's an okay size. It's not real perfect, and that's fine. Now I'm going to make sure I have my adhesive side touching the back side of the fabric, but just to be safe, I'm going to put my freezer paper on top of there. I have my hot iron, which isn't reaching. I'm going to just put my iron over here. There we go. Whoops. And I'm going to just lay this on there for a few seconds. Now that's going to be hot, see it curled, and let it just cool off over there. While that's cooling off, I'm going to transfer my design onto my fiber paper. Just to make this easier, I'm going to tear some of this down, so I'm not dealing with such a big piece. And any little bits and stuff, you can save those and just apply them to a collage. It's really neat to do that too. Now I'm going to get on my white surface so I can see what I'm doing. I have my marker, and I'm going to bring my paper over here and move this out. Stuff in my way here. I'm going to set my paper on here, and I want to do this one for this. So I'm going to put my freezer paper, and the reason you do this is because freezer paper is somewhat waterproof, at least temporarily. And if I just put my fiber paper on there, it would ruin my master drawing. You can print more of them, but if you don't have to, don't, right? So I'm going to lay my picture on here. I could use a light box, which would probably be better, but I'm going to just see through there. You can kind of see that. And I'm going to put my paper, my fiber paper on here, and just want to make sure I have an edge around it. And I can't see this so great, but it'll be great enough. It will be fine enough. And if you have a really thirsty marker, you can see that this is actually bleeding because I'm holding it down a little bit longer, which probably is not the best idea. And I'm not following it exactly, but it will be fine for now. And this is, you can see what this is doing. It's bleeding. When I lift it up, it'll look a little different because I'm on the paper, and the freezer paper might be affecting it as well. And I'm going to take this off. And you can see the design there. And it did bleed a little, but I'm okay with that. It'll still be cool. I see there's another design there that I missed, so I'm going to just go ahead and draw it just the way I want to draw it now. Okay, so be careful because this can smear on the freezer paper. It may dry, but I usually just wipe it off right away so I don't get it on something else or on my hands or anything. Move that aside. Now, when you're going to tear your paper out, you can just, like I said, I just tear mine by hand, but the easier way to do it, and I do think I showed this in another video, but we'll just show it again. I don't know if you can see it as well when I do it on here. I guess you can. I'm going to just, whoops. See, once the water hits that, it just drinks it up. I'm going to just go around here. Because once it gets wet, where it's wet, it tears very easily. And so then I don't have a bunch of little pieces. I just tore it that easily. And across the top. The bigger fibers don't really take the water, so they tend to just stick out, and that's cool too, I think. And I like that this is sort of a shape, not quite what that was, but you can do it as neat as you want, or as you can make it a square, anything you want to do with it. Now I'm going to set that aside for a minute. I'm going to take this, it's nice and cool now, and I'm going to peel. It's a lot easier to do when you have fingernails, and mine are not so good right now. And then I'm going to decide which way I want it to go. Oh, decisions, decisions. You're probably looking at it go, no, do it the other way. Oh, I think both ways look good. Nope, this way I like best. So I'm going to just put it on here anywhere you want. And that being a little sticky on the back, even though it's not adhered, it stays in place. So I can play around with my piece, see where I want it to go. You do lose a lot of the fabric when you do this, but it's still fabric back there, and it still looks really unusual. I like to hang it off the edge a little bit. So now that's where I want it. I know that's where I want it. And you can just use the iron, but I'm going to go ahead and put the parchment over it. And so I'm just adhering that to the card. Oh yeah, if you have fans on, be careful because they will blow this everywhere. You'll be wondering where that piece you just cut went. So I let that cool because I'm going to use glue on it, the glue stick. And also at this point, I was going to show you that this flower is facing this direction. But once you draw it, if I had drawn that flower, once you draw it, you can flip it over so that it can go either way. So this was meant to go this way in my drawing, but if I like it better that way, I do, but I like this too. Hard to make decisions sometimes. And again, you can put that anywhere you want. I write my little note over here so I know that I want it to go just off a little bit. In fact, I'm going to tear this just a teeny bit more, which is the way I do it, and you can see it's more wasteful. You end up with all these little bits and pieces. Oh, I like that. Okay, so then I get my glue stick, and I like to do the fabric side first. I'm not sure why I do that, but it just feels more correct. And it's, unless you have a point on this stuff, it's sort of hard to get it or exactly where you want it. You can put it on your finger and put the glue onto the paper, but you're taking a chance of ripping the paper, so I don't usually do it that way, but you can. And I just do half of it. Oops. And come around and you can sort of eyeball where it goes. And then just, if you use the edge, you can almost place it where you want it. And this purple will dry, like I said. And if you come off onto the, depending on what your card or cardstock or paper is, the purple may end up shiny in the end. You can try and take a little damp tissue or something and wipe the shiny off, or you can just leave it. You can make shiny all over it with more glue stick. So I used to iron these at this point, and it flattened all the fibers so much that I don't do that now. I just sort of let them dry. Can heat it on the, you see that's drying it right there. I've never done that, but that turned out to be a good idea. So that's dry already. When I made this card, and I used Neocolors for the background, and I just colored across it, spritzed it with water, took a paintbrush and just rubbed it so that it had this nice diagonal design. And then I did drop some gold on it, which I don't know how great that was, but I guess with this having gold on it. For the little card that I made, I was spraying some fabric with Jacquard textile paint in a mist bottle with water, and I decided to just put some paper around so that any overspray or even intentional spray would get on the paper, and so that's what I used to make this little card. So I'll show you a bunch of these at the end here so that you can see some other examples. So I hope that if you found this interesting and fun, that you'll give it a try if you paint, especially if you painted your own fabrics. And I'm sure you can come up with other ways that you could use the same idea to cover different things. Journal covers maybe, journal pages. Just so many ideas, they just keep coming. If you have been a subscriber here, thank you for hanging with me. I've been gone for a while. I appreciate you being here and watching. And if you're new, thank you for coming. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. Be sure and tap the bell to get my most recent videos. And if you do anything that you'd like to share with me, I would love that. Until next time, this has been Anne. Thanks a lot for watching.